Looking for a quick semi-homemade brunch, breakfast, dessert? Take day-old croissants and dress them up into pistachio rose croissants. I promise you, they're easy and delicious. So first things first, we're gonna be making our sugar syrup. And to make our sugar syrup, we're gonna take our sugar and we're gonna add in a little bit of water to help it dissolve. You can flavor your sugar syrup with whatever you want. You can add cinnamon, different whole spices. I'm gonna be adding a little bit of rose water at mine after it's done cooking. The reason why you add the rose water at the end is because the rose water is really sensitive to heat. So if you were to put it in and boil it, all the rose water would basically evaporate off and you would not get any flavor from the rose water. So you wait till the end. But for whole spices like cinnamon, cardamom, and star anise, you can totally add that in right now. So I'm gonna bring this to the stove and we're gonna bring it to a boil until all the sugar dissolves. So all the sugar is now dissolved and now we're gonna add in our rose water. So I'm adding 1 teaspoon. Now, if you were gonna make something where you're not cooking the rose water off, I would recommend only adding a 1/4 teaspoon of rose water, but because this is hot, I'm expecting most of the rose water to actually just kind of possibly evaporate right off. I'm gonna add a little bit more so that I can guarantee that there's some rose flavor. And we're gonna mix that in. And we're gonna set this to the side to just cool down a little bit. So now we're gonna make the pistachio cardamom paste that we're gonna put inside the croissants. First things first, we need some butter. And make sure it's room temperature so it's a little bit easier to use. If it's too hard, it's not gonna mix as well, and it's not gonna make a paste. We're also gonna add in some sugar, and we're gonna just mix that until it's all well combined. So this recipe is super versatile. You can totally use whatever nut powder you want. So we're gonna add in our egg. Now, if you wanted to do this eggless, you would do about a 1/4 cup of aquafaba, and then you can add in 2 tablespoons of sour cream or yogurt. And do like thick yogurt, not the sour yogurt. So it's nice and mixed. So once your egg is mixed in, we're gonna add in our pistachio flour. This is just some roasted, unsalted pistachios that I blitzed up in the blender. And now I'm just gonna add that in. I'm also gonna add in a little bit of salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon, and some ground cardamom. Again, you can swap out the spice for cinnamon, nutmeg, whatever you want. Any combo of nut and spice works here. I'm just gonna make sure that it's all really well nice and mixed. And we're gonna add it to a pastry bag. One of my favorite tricks is to use a glass, a tall glass, to hold your piping bag so it's a little bit easier to fill. And then you can easily just scoop your filling right in. And use the edge of the glass to kind of scrape your spatula. We're gonna get all the air out and just kind of use your hand to push the pistachio paste as far down as possible, and we'll just set that to the side. And now all we have to do is just assemble. So grab your old croissants and slice them in half. I like to use a long serrated knife for this. And you're gonna cut all the way through, and you're gonna do that with all your croissants. Once you've sliced your croissants, you're gonna take the syrup that you made, brush it on. And we're also gonna brush on the back end too. The backs, the front, pretty much the whole thing. Now that our croissant bottom halves have been thoroughly brushed with the sugar syrup, we're gonna pipe on our pistachio paste. And you can just kind of make a little swirl, keep it in the center. You don't wanna put too much because then it'll come all flying out when you sandwich it with the top. And you wanna keep a little bit, maybe about a 1/4 cup of it, because we're gonna use this and dollop it on the top. Now we're gonna add our tops on. We're gonna brush the tops of these with our syrup as well. And for the tops, you wanna make sure you have a nice, even layer, because this is what's gonna give them that nice, pretty glossy look. So now I'm gonna add just a little bit of a dollop onto the top of each one of these. You don't need to put too much, just a 1/4 cup. Let's use it all up, let's not waste any. Then I'm gonna take a little spoon and just kind of spread it around on top. And this is gonna get all nice and crackly and delicious and crispy while it bakes in the oven. I like to kind of keep it focused to the center of the croissant. Now, if you wanted to, you could totally press some slivered almonds or pistachios on top of this before you bake it. That's pretty traditional for almond croissants. They will put the paste on and then press it into some sliced almonds or slivered almonds and then bake it. You can totally do that if you like. I'm gonna leave them as is because I have a special way. So we're gonna bake these for about 20 to 25 minutes at 330 degrees Fahrenheit. We're gonna dust some powdered sugar on these, just a little bit, nothing too excessive. And then I have some vanilla whipped cream that I made that I have in a piping bag with a little bit of a round tip. I'm just going to give these a little bit of a whirl. Now, you don't have to do the whipped cream if you don't want to. You could totally just stop at the powdered sugar. But if you're doing this for a fancy brunch, it's kind of nice to add the whipped cream. So now we're gonna decorate. So what I'm gonna do is drop on some coarsely chopped pistachios. So these are just edible dried rose petals. And you can put these on, they're pretty for decoration. You can use tweezers if you want, or you can use your fingers. You could totally use fresh edible flowers too if you can find them at your grocery store. There we go, all done.